Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of Out of the Blue. Again, no more introductions. We did the very first one before, didn't turn out so great. The second one, a little bit shorter now, this one even shorter. But I'm joined today with Liquid Scoom, obviously Keiron Prescott. Came 4th at Gamescom, if my memory serves me correctly. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good, yeah.
Perfect. So if you'd like to just tell our viewer base just a little bit about yourself, how Liquid came about, and sort of, just give us the real story of Keiron.
Well, I'm Keiron, I'm 25, I'm from Gibraltar. I've pretty much played every single game you can name since like 2004 till now. Like I've messed with COD, CS, World of Warcraft, League of Legends. I've played every single game. And about like a year ago, I started playing a game called ARK Survival Fittest, which was like a battle royale mod of a survival game, dinosaur survival game. And I competed in that. There was actually, I don't know if you guys know about it, but there was a lot of prize money for this game, like $60,000 every month, and the community was really small.
What, for ARK?
Yeah, for
I
ARK.
missed that. I never knew that. I just thought it was some kind of survival game that people...
That's crazy.
They tried to promote it by doing those tournaments, so there's prize money, but it was such a small community. So obviously, I was in the best team at the time, which was Kappa Pride was our name. And Moleman, my teammate now in Team Liquid, he was like my rival. He was in the other team, the second best team, and we were like back and forth fighting against each other. And we both competed for that for like a year, and then it stopped developing. And PUBG came out early this year, and we became really good friends. So that's how me and him started about. And we competed in duos. We went to DreamHack. We won DreamHack, the final duos there, and that's where we met Hollywood, which is our third partner. He was at DreamHack as well. We were impressed with him. And that's when we started talking to, some organizations and stuff. And then Hayes came into the picture and Liquid approached us. And that's how Liquid came about. And then we went to Gamescom after that.
You're going to have to tell me more about ARK. How did this work in tournaments?
I mean,
I'm quite intrigued by this.
Initially started, you know ARK Survival Evolved, right? Everyone knows that game?
Yeah.
So, it was actually pretty big. I think the game grew, I think they have 100 concurrent players or something, 100,000, something like that. But they tried to do a battle royale version of it. I can't remember what date it was, 2 years ago. They did a streamer tournament, right? The same as the charity PUBG did, a streamer tournament. We invited two streamers together for that tournament, and it was actually pretty big. I think it was can't remember the actual total prize pool, but first place was $10,000 for each player. Second place was $5,000. And I ended up coming second place in that streamer tournament with Partially Royal, a YouTuber.
Yeah.
And since then, they tried to make tournaments. They kept on making tournaments, and for big prize pools, we ended up winning a couple of those. And then March of last year, they did a league, and the league was the same as PUBG. You have to call it the same structure, point system.
Yeah.
And basically, the top 40 in solos would qualify for the monthly tournament. The top 60 in duos would qualify for a monthly tournament, and the top 80 in squads would qualify for a tournament. So there was 3 tournaments in month, and it was $60,000 split between the 3. So first prize in solos was $3,500. First prize in duos was $3,500 each, and squads the same each player. So it was basically that, and it was every month you would qualify, you would grind. They reset the points, and then you qualify for the tournament if you got it. And
holy shit!
Yeah.
Some decent money.
Yeah, one of the months, I think it was the May 2016. I came first place in solos, second place in duos, and first place in squads. I ended up winning $10,000 just in a month.
I literally had no idea about this, by the way.
Yeah,
and it was the thing is, it was free money because it was such a small community, and the players were not that great. That the good players, the people actually grinding, that were really competitive, were winning money every month.
Away on CS:GO, trying to do his last final.
Game,
Yeah, I was going to say it was your final furlong, proper grinding away in the UK scene in CS:GO when you could have been playing ARK Survival Evolved.
So did it work a little?
Is there any other games like this?
Didn't Rust have something similar? They were similar games, right?
But I don't think they have tournaments and anything like that. I think
the main reason I know about ARK Survival now is because they just released, officially released it, didn't they, out of early access?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's terrible. So
yeah, it's got 65,000 concurrent players at the moment, actually, as well. It's
in
the top 10 at the moment.
Yeah, it has its own community. I don't think it's going up or down, but it's always consistent.
I never knew that about ARK, to be honest. It's weird for me because I followed Rust slightly, and then obviously ARK, there was a big boom around it when it came out, and then everyone was like, oh, and it kind of died off. But I didn't know they actually had these big tournaments. So that's interesting. It's definitely interesting for me. So you mentioned obviously how your team formed with Liquid coming about, and then you competed at Gamescom. We're only going to touch on this slightly, but first off, how did you find the event?
It was alright for that first event. There was a lot like improvements they could have done, which they did fix like day after day. Like they were really on feedback. They would like as every day we gave back feedback, they would fix it. So that was good for the first event. I would have liked for them to have like there was a lot of people that actually wanted to watch the games at Gamescom, but they had like such a small sitting room that no fans could actually watch it live. And we would have liked to have that experience, you know, people watching you, sitting down and cheering for you. So that was the only part that I kind of go back and wish they had, you know.
Okay, that's weird because like for me, from the outside, it seemed like there wasn't that many problems at all with the tournament. I mean, it seemed quite spectator friendly in that sense, but I suppose that's something they're going to adjust in the future. When you've got so many players, it's how do you go about actually doing that in a setting where everyone can see each other like, well enough, you know? So
I mean, sorry, like like CS:GO, for example, they have tournaments and they have technical issues, and that's only 2 teams, right? That's only 10 players, so 80 players. Like you're bound to have technical issues. Like it's just a thing that's going to happen. But the PCs that they had were not the ones promised. Like they promised us they were going to have like 1080 Ti's, I think, or something like that, like really good PCs. But then they tested like 1070s and like a less quality PC. And they were like, oh, this is fine. Let's just go with that, you know? I feel like in a game, especially like early access, where it's still optimized, it's still not clearly optimized. They should have just gone with a higher PC, obviously, but yeah.
I didn't know that.
They did give you 1080 Ti's though, right?
I'm giving one away, actually.
Really?
I won one at DreamHack and got one at Gamescom too, so.
Wow.
Sean's your biggest fan.
So you're just stacked with 1080 Ti's.
Yeah, he can't actually play the game because his graphics card's too shit, so give it to him. I've been trying to play with this motherfucker for ages, but he can't play. He literally gets 5 FPS.
So
you can enter the giveaway.
My last thing with Gamescom is we mentioned when Hollywood is on, we spoke about your tactics about sitting in the blue, and obviously I wanted to, since we had you on, I wanted to actually ask how did you find that as a player doing it, and what's your opinion on that? Do you think the circle there needs to be changes?
Well, as a player doing it, to be honest, I was the one doing it in my team, and you know, I don't really get to do anything. Like I don't get to showcase, you know, shooting or anything like that. I was just sitting there and healing. So they, like, for example, the rest of the team, they got to fight, right? Because I was the one staying behind, and they went to fight. So for me, it felt shit in that sense. But at the same time, I was the most experienced with it. I've sat out the blue so long. Like if you watch me play solos, I'm sitting outside the blue for a long time, and then I come in late. So I'm experienced to know the timings of the heals and when to do it and stuff like that. So it's obvious that I was the one going to do it. But in terms of like doing it, I mean, it's shitty to look. Obviously, I feel like the blue circle needs to be fixed so people don't do that kind of cheese strat. I feel like the mission should be everyone going in the circle and fighting, right? That should be it. Last man standing. It shouldn't be a guy sitting outside with 22 first aids and 2 medkits and just spamming heals, because anyone can do that. You know, if it's going to be like that, anyone can get points and finish top 4. So in that sense, yeah, we did what we had to do. Because we had the first game we played normal, right? We played like our actual strat, like just play as 4. We were doing well. We ended up coming 5th place, right? And like if we would have come top 3, we'd have played the second game normal as well. But the fact that we came top 5, we were like, okay, let's bank the second game and see where it takes on the third. And when we did that, Luminosity and the team came second. They came first and second both 2 games. That we were impossible for us to win anymore. Like even if we won the third game, we were out of the picture on first and second. It was just gone because they came first and second. So that's why we banked it again to just consistent, like, because we were like 1 position from 3rd or 4th or something. So we did it again. Yeah, we just played for the point system.
I'm surprised you didn't run across break up top North George. That would have been funny if you both just sat there healing, just looking at each other like, hey.
I think he only did it the first game though, right? We did it the second and third, yeah.
Yeah,
but that would have been funny. Yeah, we were both doing it at the same time, so we just bump into each other like on the 4th circle. Like, what are you doing here, Break?
I think that's the general consensus though, from the other guests that we've had on and spoken to, is that, you know, whilst it's there, when you're playing for money in a tournament and stuff like that, you got to leverage those as an option, but
Yeah.
everybody else really has the same idea. They want to fight, and they believe it. You should get into the circle and fight it out. It's just that if you have the ability to do that, and the game allows you to do it, then sometimes you're gonna have to take that option, aren't you?
I mean, it was also because of the way the point system was. Like, if you do that, you're so guaranteed. If you do that every game, you're guaranteed to come top 3. Like, if you do it every game, like we look at the points, and if no team like perform really well, for example, Luminosity came first and second. If they don't come first and second in whatever place they third, like you can actually win doing that. Like you can come top three, like all 3 games, and actually win the whole tournament. So the point system is a bit like iffy because of that, and
Yeah.
if the point system's like that and you can do that, it's stupid not to do that strat, right? If you think about it, if you're going to compete, if you want to win, you got to do what you got to do. If it's within the rules.
Yeah, because that's the reason I wanted to ask you, because like I know from being a CS player, it's like I would hate that. That's like being given the bomb every round and just like you don't get to shoot anyone, right?
Yeah.
That's me. I'm always throwing the bomb.
Especially when I've traveled halfway across, like, not the world, but in your case, but still, I've traveled around and it's like, oh, this is all I'm going to be doing at the tournament. You can't showcase your skills, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have that individual back of my mind, but at the same time, the way I play for my team. Like, I want my team to win, so I don't mind sacrificing showcasing my skill for my team to win.
No, definitely. I mean, that's it. So, in your mind, what do you think needs to change for the whole blue discussion? Because we had a few different opinions. Obviously, we had the Mythic Boys on. We had obviously Hollywood on and Daz, and the Mythic Boys were just like, yeah, it shouldn't be, and it should be just like as soon as you outside the circle for like 10 seconds, that's it, you're dead, kind of thing.
I feel like the circle needs a whole revamp. I feel like the circle needs to be completely redone from the ground up. Personally, I don't like the system where when it's shrinking and you're outside the shrinking part, you're taking damage and you're fighting with someone else, and like you can actually see from outside the zone. I like more the system of armor free battle royale, where you'd start taking damage once it shrinks in, not during the shrinking. So let's say you're like 100 meters away from the shrinking and it's getting past you, you're taking a lot of damage, especially like the death circle one. You're taking a lot and then it shrinks and you start taking more. I feel like it should shrink all the way in, and then once it shrinks in, you start taking the damage. So you have a little bit more room to actually get into the circle.
That's good.
That's 1. 2, that's the part that I like about armor. The part I didn't like is like people that outside the circle see clearly in, right?
Right.
Like, I don't like the fact that one person's outside the circle sees the person inside the circle. Like, the mission should be getting in the circle, right? So, for example, in PUBG, you have the blue thing, but people can see in and out.
Would you make it like H1?
Yeah, for example, I would make it more H1 style where you can't really see in. So the people inside have the advantage in that sense.
That's a really valid point. I don't think we touched on that before. Like the actual visibility within the circle is pretty, apart from a little fuzz now and again that pulses on your screen.
Only when it passes by you. Yeah, only when it passes by you, when it fucks up your vision. But after that, it's like you pretty much see.
Clear,
yeah. Either give a visual impairment like H1 style, or like a recoil, a super high recoil thing, like where you're swaying like crazy. You're outside the circle. You're drunk or something. I feel like it needs to be more of a penalty, except for like damage, right? Because you can heal through damage pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, like I know from just my limited experience, like on ladder and that, you can just pretty much everyone just sits that first circle and it doesn't even matter. Like you can just sit there and pretty much till the second one's in and just heal. And just be
I mean, you can heal until death circle, which is 4th circle in. You can heal perfectly fine with just boosters and bandages, like nothing. Like that part, I feel like it should stack. Like that, what I would change, for example, right now of PUBG is like every circle should stack. For example, if you are in Georgia Pole, right? North Georgia Pole, and the circle is military, so you're really far away. In the first circle, you take first circle damage. When it's the second circle, you should be taking the second plus the first. And then every other circle you're outside, you should be adding extra, right? Like, I feel like that should be...
Multipliers.
Sorry?
Like multipliers.
Multiplies, multiplies for every... Well, not multiplies, but adds. Adds every circle.
That's a good idea.
That's, like, I think the initial fix they could do right now, I would imagine. Another thing that I would, like, going back to that, the H1Z1 visual thing, the armor damage shrinking thing, Another thing I would love for Circle to have in this game, and I don't know if you heard about it yet, but the same with Armor. Armor has like a breathing room. So basically, when the circle is shrinking, you can leave the previous circle.
Okay.
So let's say you have a circle, right? And it's going to shrink wherever it's going to shrink. And you're like in the current PUBG, you're trapped against another player because one, behind you is a zone, and in front of you is him and a tree. But in the armor-free breathing room, what you can do is you can actually go back when it's shrinking. So let's say it's shrinking now. You can actually move away, not take any damage, flank around, and then go in the circle. And then once it's shrunk, you start taking damage again. So you have more this playability that you don't get stuck because of the zone. You know, you're forced to play this.
You feel like that would respectively kind of introduces more tactical play around the circle?
Yeah, for sure. Because a lot of the times you get into a circle and you're circle fucked, right? And if you get a good team in front of you, even bad teams in front of you who have a position against you, and you can't really do anything because of the zone, it's like you're screwed over, right? But if you have this breathing room where you can wait until it shrinks and then move away, because you might have cover behind you or to the side of you that's outside the circle, move away and do like a flank kind of thing, and it adds more playability, and you're not so like clustered into the zone kind of thing.
Because like Ollie would mention that having just more open cover would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, for my personal opinion, I think the map is not balanced for competitive play. Like, there's a lot of open parts. There's too many buildings and open and buildings. I feel like the map there needs to be a new map for competitive play, in my opinion.
Do you think, with the respect to the buildings right now, do you think this scenario is going to change when vaulting comes into effect? Do you still think it's going to be the too many buildings?
I think it's just going to make it even stronger with vaulting, because you can probably go into places
barrel rollout.
Yeah. Yeah, you can probably, like, for example, the bad parts about buildings right now is that if like the end circles, if there's a team outside the buildings, normally they have the advantage because leaving the building is the shitty part, right, of the building strat. So adding vaulting would probably give them more options to leave the building, so it's going to even make the building stronger, I think. I don't know. And you could do more camping methods because of it. You can probably go into roofs because of the vaulting and prone there.
Well, you mentioned about potentially a new competitive map, but what's in my mind, I would love for PUBG now to get involved, get all the pro teams together in like a council and design a map, like fly you guys out to the studio or wherever, like to Blue Hole, and actually sit down with the captains and design an esports map if they want to go that route. But I think they kind of, I'm not sure if they want to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of mixed opinions between pros already as well. Like, a lot of people like third person, a lot like first. And I think some like the building meta, some don't. So I think it's going to be like a lot of mixed opinions to do that. At least right now, it's so early. But I hope they get feedback from us, to be honest. I think they are trying to get, I think Amir is getting a lot of feedback from some players and asking stuff. So that's a good way to go.
Are you for the first person, third person argument?
Yeah, first person all the way.
Yeah.
No third for me.
And the Mythic Boys are saying, like, there's literally, they don't feel there's room for even third person. And I was saying, like, maybe in an ideal world having tournaments either side, but then you look how much manpower it takes to run one event. Like, it's going to be, I don't even know right now, outside of VSL, if anyone can actually make a LAN tournament successful because of the amount of tech and things you're going to need for it to take place.
I mean, the spec PCs need to be gangster, don't they, as well? Like,
yeah. And I think, like, Gamescom had 80 players. I think 80 players is not the right way to go for PUBG. At least for the current map. I think the current map should be like 60, 62 max, or 64, whatever. There shouldn't be so many teams, because the map is not ready for it. The optimization is not ready for it. And adding too many teams just increases RNG by more, like, way more. You know what I mean? No team wants that.
So you would say go 60 max?
Yeah, around 60.
It saves
in terms of
costs.
In terms of
FPP, for them it's better as well. Yeah.
I'd like to see some statistics since the ladder's been launched for FPP, to see how many versus third person are playing first person.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be really intrigued to find out, because the more and more I'm watching different people's streams, the more I'm seeing people playing first person over third person, and it seems that initially, when first person came out, you know, it was a little bit slower pace because everybody was a little bit more scared and hiding because obviously you don't have the same variables of being able to look behind you in the same way. But from watching now, where it's come over the last month, it seems a lot more aggressive in its play style and quite a bit faster. That's my opinion from a spectator, anyway. I mean, I don't know your thoughts on that, but for me, I feel that first person to be a little bit more faster paced.
I mean, it's more faster pace around fights in general. Like, there's no, you're behind a tree, I'm behind a tree, is stalemate. That kind of stuff. You can actually walk around and flank each other in that sense. But to the competitive sense, like the meta, it doesn't change anything. Like, we've been playing third person and first person, and I knew this going in that it's not going to change the meta. The meta is still going to be going to the middle of the circle, find the best compound or area, camp it, and then wait out. The only thing that's changing is the fights are more skillful, like the fact that you can flank around and do more stuff. There's more playability around first person, but the actual like competitive, the meta, and when you spectate, is almost the same. It's almost the same, except for maybe when you're proning in the fields in first to third, it's different.
Yeah, I think they need to give
Proning
everything a
is the
good
third
lawnmower,
person, man.
like legit. Like proning him first, like pisses me off. Like honestly, they need the gardener out. Just cut it down a little bit, because I can't
but
never
at
see.
least when you're proning in first, you're not getting dicked on. Like when you're proning in third person, like the guy can fully see you moving in the grass.
Yeah, and he's
like,
he's proning, he sees you, and he shoots you just like hip firing, and it's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we mentioned about the esports maps, but like, I'm worried. Like, I had a couple of circles yesterday that just like basically in water, and I'm trying to reason with the game and say, it's cool and stuff, but I would maybe just get it out of it. Like, it's literally so annoying when you have to cross. Like, we had one where we had to cross the island and then back, from south to north twice, and I'm just like, yeah, fantastic. Like
50-50 to the 50-50 circle.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
It's just like, yeah, awesome, guys.
I personally hate the military island whenever it goes that circle. I think it's just horrible. Crossing the bridge and the boats and the swimming, and it's just disgusting in my opinion. I'm not a fan of that. I just prefer land. Fuck water, But I mean, they're changing the water, some stuff to it. I don't know what's gonna fix, but I understand what you say. Like, whenever it's like 50% water and 50% island, it just fucks up the whole thing anyways. Even if they fix the water, it's just that half of the map is smaller now, right? It's in the beach or whatever.
Yeah, because they're working on the penetration factor, aren't they? But I don't know how. Well, I mentioned about possibly a hypothermia mechanic with Hollywood.
Yeah, I heard that.
He seemed to quite like it. Daz was the other way. He preferred the penetration. I just worry with the penetration, it's going to make pretty much, if you can't find a boat and you have to swim, it's just going to make your situation basically game over at that point.
Yeah, that's what I agree about the penetration, is that now whenever it does go military island, if you don't find a boat, which in competitive play everyone normally gets a boat, it's like if you're the 50%, or like the other teams that don't find a boat, normally they just swim across. Now if they swim across, there's always teams waiting on the other side. You're gonna get fucked on. Like, everyone's gonna get screwed just because they didn't find a boat, and you're not gonna cross a bridge. Like there's always a team maybe stopping at the bridge and stuff like that. There's always fights, so it's gonna make it horrible. Yeah.
So patch dropped September 12th, a couple of days ago. What's your general thoughts on this? I guess we can start with the Mini 14, right? Because for me, I've had a couple of games with it. First off, I just want to say the sound effect, probably the best sound effect in the entire game, amazing. But what's your feel with it, with the sniper attachments? I mean, people are moaning about the damage, but actually, have a little look at the stats, and it's got one of the lower DMR stats for this kind of rifle, right? So in pure damage. But I think what people are moaning about is the fact that it fires like a railgun. Like, the drop is non-existent pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, I personally like the sound, but I think it's a bit too loud. Like, it's way too loud, especially without like a silence or whatever.
Okay.
I like the sound. It's just, I think it needs to be tuned a little bit too. Like, if you compare it to every other gun, it's extremely loud.
So it's not as loud as the plane or when driving a car, right? They should have.
I think it's louder than all that, actually. I think it's the loudest thing in PUBG, at least for me. When I hear someone shooting beside me with that, it's super freaking loud.
They've actually made all the sounds a bit louder in this last patch, like stupidly loud.
It might be it then. It's like a bonus of both.
Yeah, it's because I noticed it the other day, and I thought somebody was shooting behind me because it was right at the back of my head, and I'm like, but he was actually about 4 or 5 buildings away, and so I think generally the guns in general have got loud,
right?
Don't know why. I think it mentions it in the patch notes that they brought up the volume.
Okay.
What's your general feeling though on the mini right now?
The Mini 14, like a lot. I'm not too in love with it. I think it's really good. Like it's in the MR, but I compare it to ARs. For me, it's like an AR, right? Like it does more or less the same damage. It carries the same ammo, like the 5.56, and the damage is like I think it's 43 or 44, so it's slightly more than the 5.56 guns. But like on hit, it's more or less the same.
Yeah.
Like across the board on every armor. The only one that changes is the tier 2 vest. With the 5.56 gun, like with the M4 or those guns, you require 5 shots to a level 2 vest. With the Mini 14, you require 4. That's if you land all the shots to the tier 2 vest. If you land one of the shots to the arm, the limbs, which normally always happens, you need 5 shots. So it doesn't really change too much. Like every other armor is the same to hit, to kill.
Here's the on the PUBG wiki. It says level 0, 44 per hit. So on a level 3, it's 19.8.
Yeah. So I think it's slightly less than M249. I think the M249 is 44, but I think the M249 2 shots a level 3 helmet, whilst the Mini 14 doesn't. So it's like a decimal less, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But yeah, I compare it to the AR's damage. Obviously, it has faster bullet travel time than an M16. So M16 for me is like the king of 4Xs of the ARs. It has faster bullet travel time and like less bullet drop, but it's not that noticeable. It's not like great difference, right? And the recoil with the 4X, that's the strongest part, I guess, about it. Like when you're medium range to long range, it has like hardly any recoil when you're 4Xing, especially like full attachments with like a compensator. But if I look at it, it's not that much stronger than M16. Like it's super similar. And it has less rounds on the mag, so it's like 30 or 40. I mean, 20 or 30 compared to 30 or 40. So for me personally, I wouldn't like. It's not. If you look at the meta, like it's sniper AR or double AR or SKS AR or like a shotgun AR or vector AR.
So,
like,
are you saying like maybe get the sniper attachments out of it?
I was confused as to why it had sniper attachments, to be honest with you. I thought maybe it was just something to do with balancing. And they were just like, well, if we gave this an AR silencer and if we gave it AR extended mags, it might be a bit too easy to build it up. So we'll make it have sniper attachments. So,
that might be it, actually. Like, I don't know. I think sniper attachments might be harder to find than AR attachments.
Yeah.
So I think that's fine, to be honest. I don't see an issue with that. I think the gun is decent. I think it's like if you grab an AR on that, it's like instead of like having, for example, like people run like let's say AKM M16 and M16 is for 4Xing, you can actually run a short range plus a Mini 14 for 4Xing. Like a lot of people like that. But I personally, like if I compare it to an M16, I would rather take an M16.
So the Mini 14, its initial bullet speed is 990, and the M16A4 initial bullet speed is 900. And then if we look at level 3 damage, M16A4 is actually 18.45 body if you hit every shot. And the Mini is obviously, according to this, 19.8.
So number of hits is going to be the same.
Yeah.
If you do
pretty much.
Continue. Yeah. But you're gonna. I mean, I think the main difference, I guess, for some people is that you actually see the bullet of the Mini 14, right? You see where it's landing. Like you see the actual like the SKS, right? You see where the bullet is going. So it's easier to adjust, especially long range where you're actually hitting. So that's like the plus, I guess, for it. But I don't know. I have to play more with still. Like it's still early days to see if it's gonna be super strong or in the meta and stuff. But my initial thoughts is I'd rather take an M16, and it's easier to find one too. So like a Mini 14 is harder to find like a AR. So
yeah,
I don't think it's like massively like exceptional, but I certainly think it's really good fun to play with. Like every time I've picked one up, I've had a great time with it, and yeah, I'm all in favour of them adding kind of any weapon which is going to be fun to use off the bat. Also, the other thing about it as well is it doesn't really feel like it needs to be built. Like with the limited amount of recoil it has, like you were saying with the 4x scope, it kind of just feels like you pick up a Mini 14, you put a 4x scope on it, and it's very, very usable. You don't really have to worry about adding a compensator or anything like that to it. The extended mag's nice, but other than that, it just seems like a real kind of steady, pick it up, easy to use weapon.
Here's my question. It seems like every patch we're adding guns, right?
Yeah.
if we're making this into an esport, how do we go about balancing it? Now, I come from CS:GO, so Valve, they just pretty much don't give a fuck. They just add whatever they want whenever they want, and they go, oh, yeah, you know, we're gonna have a revolver, you know, that takes a second to even fire a bullet. Yeah, like that works in CS, boys, great one. But I mean, if PUBG is going to be an esport, do you feel like keep adding weapons is going to eventually make a weird balance in the game, or do you just think it's just going to be people are going to rock different loadouts?
I think it's definitely going to do that. I think you're going to create a massive imbalance. But I hope that it goes more towards the Call of Duty style, where the pros get to kind of make a pro rule set and say, right, we're going to have these weapons, but we're not going to have these weapons. But then when everyone wants to play public games, there's loads of variety, there's loads of fun things you can play and try out. But I really think it's going to come down to the pros going, like, this is a bit ridiculous now. We're just going to keep this, we're going to remove this.
I agree completely with what he's saying. Like, I feel like for like out of competitive, like for the game itself to like grow, and for casuals, I think adding guns is great. Like everyone gets tired of the same loadout all the time. They want to get new things. So I like that part. I also like that part in competitive. I like the part, like if you have so many guns, some people might prefer specific loadouts. But obviously, if it's some stuff unbalanced, you're obviously going to see always the same loadouts as much as people can get. You know, if you can get the specific loadout every game, you're going to go that.
Is it something you actively think about in Liquid though? Do you say like, okay, Ollie, would you take the sniper and this kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, we have specific like roles per se. Like for example, Hollywood and Mallman tend to take the Kar 98Ks. Whenever we do find it, we give it to them. Like SKS, I normally take and Hayes, for example. Like we have our own preference between our team, and we have our own like role. Like there was a period where I used the VSS a lot because I used to play like outside of my team. We were practicing that where they were like grouped together, and I was a bit more like out of the blue with the VSS, just like in team fights. But it was a bit shitty. I got into a lot of situations like I could have killed the team if I just had an AR. You know, fuck this VSS. But yeah, I feel like adding more guns would add more variety to playstyles, as long as it's balanced. But you know, balancing can be hard if it's too many stuff. I feel like, for example, the ARs, like the 5.56, there's 3 of them, but I feel like they're really balanced between. They've done a good job to balance all 3. Like people love the M4, people love the Scar, people are only M16, you know, only AKM. I think that those guns are kind of balanced between themselves. So as long as they can keep doing that, I'm fine with it. But if they're gonna start adding stuff that are gonna be too OP and stuff like that, then I'm a bit.
I was actually having a conversation with Daz about the Kar 98. He was saying that like in the tournaments that sometimes it feels a little bit useless because of how much people move, and it's a lot more difficult to use. Is that something you can same sentiment with, or?
Yeah, I feel like the Kar 98 is definitely stronger in casual than it is in competitive, without a doubt, because you just get into more fights in casuals. You're just running around fighting people. In competitive, people either like rotate, go into compound, rotate, go into compound. So whenever you do use a Kar 98, yeah, you're going to get a knockdown on a guy in the house, but he's going to get revived. Like, it just feels useless. You know what I mean? And when people are running, I feel like, for me personally, a Kar 98K, when a guy's running a field, I'd rather just use an AR with a 4X. Like, you're going to land your shots and kill him. The Kar 98... The Kar 98, you need to land that headshot. If you don't land that headshot, you need like 3 or 4 body shots to kill a guy. You know what I mean? And the battalion it takes for each shot, they're already taking cover.
Would you potentially move the M24 out of the crates into open world, or have another option?
I would move out the Kar 98K from the crates. And leave the M24
and just leave it so you only have
I think the M24 is strong. Like the M24 is that sniper that you can shoot people when they're running.
Do you think it's too strong to have open world drop then?
Yeah. I actually, in the point, I feel like the Kar 98K is, even I believe the Kar 98K is sometimes too strong too. Like in the sense that the balancing between snipers, for example, you got level 1 helmet, level 2, and level 3. If you compare the Kar 98K, the M24, and the AWM, the balancing is off. Because the Kar 98 and the M24, 1-shot level 1 and level 2 helmet, and don't 2-shot level 3, whilst AWM 1-shots all of them. So there's already an imbalance between Kar 98 and M24. They're both doing the same thing. The M24 does more body damage, but like headshot, like people only use it, at least in competitive play, to get those headshots, right? Like those peaks, get that headshot and knock the guy down, right? Or kill him. You don't really use it that much for body shots. I mean, M24 is much better, but I don't know. I feel like there's an imbalance between helmets and M24 and Kar 98. I would like something to be fixed there. I don't know. But that's me nothing the Kar 90K. Like if you let's say if you two-shot a level 2 helmet, that's gonna make the Kar 90K shit. So I don't know how to fix that either. Like I don't know.
Especially when you're saying it's even harder to use it, like, you know, in competitive play. If you then make it 2 shots to the head, it's just
yeah, it's gonna be useless. They would have to buff the vest. They would have to nerf the AR. They would have to change everything for just to balance these two guns. So yeah, it's too much thinking. I think sometimes.
I don't like the SKS, man. I fondly refer to it as the potato chucker. Like
I was actually the same as you for quite a while. Actually, I hated SKS until they buffed it, where they gave it the bullet, you know, where the bullet was actually going. Because the initial when I used the SKS in the beginning seasons was that, where are my shots going? Like, what the fuck is going on here? It's like I'm dead on the guy and I'm not even hitting him, and there was no tracer. But now with the tracer, you more or less know that it has a pretty big bullet drop. With the attachments they gave it, with the foregrip and stuff, I actually really like it. I think it's a pretty strong gun.
I wish
if you get used to it.
Touching on scopes and stuff, I don't know if it's just me, but I wish like when I scoped, it would like scope in more where I'm aiming, because sometimes I get so disorientated with an 8 times. Like I scope in, it seems like I'm slightly off center, and it's just like I don't know if it's just me in my old age, but I find it really awkward. And then add that with the kick on the SKS, I don't know. That's where my hate comes to the gun.
Eyes like me, George.
I think I have got wonky eyes, honestly, but
yeah, I would technically use the SKS with the 4X. I don't like I don't like it with the 8X unless they're like standing still, but might as well just use the 4X, or they're really far away, you know.
So I threw this question out to the other boys on the cast before. Crates. Would you obviously you like crates, and we know they're in the part of the game, but would you have, instead of crates, maybe some set loot on part of the map, so like an AWP, I don't know, in one of 3 locations in Georgia Pole, something like that? Is that something that could be viable in esports for you, or would you rather just have the crate scenario?
Yes and no. Like right now, the current, when you watch like competitive play or meta, teams don't tend to fight for the good spots that often, like for example military or George or Milta Power, you know, all those juicy areas. No one cares about it. Like there's no fights early on for it, because you can find loot anywhere. Like the RNG, you can find decent loot anywhere. Like any decent compound or any random houses, you can find an AR, some armor, and just go around and get into your position. I feel like initially there should be, those places should be like, let's say Kar 90AKs cannot spawn anywhere except for those juicy spots. So you see teams that, or like tier 3 helmets or tier 3 vests, for example, as well. Like if you want to get tier 3 armor and a Kar 90AK, you have to go to Milta, like military, you have to go to Georgia Pole, you have to go to Milta Power. Let's just say 3 locations, right? I feel like that's the start. Like I think crates are kind of fun. I find as it is. I don't think there should be crates like an AWM in Georgia Pole. That's, I think, too strong, in my opinion. I feel like the crates should be, like, for me, one of the best guns right now in crates is the AWM and the M249. I think those two are the strongest guns in squads and in competitive play, without a doubt. And
why
I
the
think that's
M249?
It just melts cars. It's the car melter, that and the AKM, and that in squads. If you watch, like if you play and watch competitive squads in high level play, everyone's rotating with cars, and the M249 is just really strong. Yeah, because of it.
So like maybe like you're saying, just have like the Kar 98 that can spawn military in Malta, and then maybe for esports that's going to create choke points, which will in return make it amazing for spectating at the start.
I mean, people will have their own strats then. Like, let's say a team relies on Kar 98s, or they want to have tier 3 armor. They go to that loot. It's worth the risk. Right now, it's not really worth the risk to go for, because you can, a guy going into a compound with 2 houses, 2 shitty houses, can find a Kar 98, and it's like, oh, he just got lucky. Like, they should remove that luck factor, put it in Georgia Pole, those Kar 98s. If people want to fight it, at least a risk in the fight, and there's less RNG in that sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Yeah. Like, I think it's a really good idea. I haven't really heard anyone put it across that way, and it makes a lot of sense, because one of the things that I'm a big proponent for is that, like, I think that the pacing's a bit weird, especially in competitive play, and I think that there's not enough onus on fighting at the start. There's no reason to do it at the start. All you're doing is giving yourself unnecessary risks. And then it causes a situation where you've got a million people all in tiny circles, and it's really cluttered and it's really hard to cast. So anything, I think at this point, I'll take anything which is going to give people more of an incentive to kind of move and challenge in these locations early. Yeah, I think it would help massively with the pacing of the game, if anything else.
I think so too. if you want to get a good gun and like let's say level 3 armor, you would have to go to these places. If not,
for
you have
sure.
shit loot going late.
Yeah.
And then you can't complain saying, "Oh, this guy just got lucky looting a shit house." No, he actually deserved it because he had the strat, went to the good location, got it, fought maybe people for it, and then went in. You know.
What's your opinion on weather in esports competitive? Because obviously we had fog added. I haven't actually had a game
Fucking
on fog,
man. Listen, that fucking fog. I wouldn't mind if it was just fog. I don't know. I don't know.
Sounds.
Listen,
The wind, right?
I didn't buy for flipping Silent Hill. It's not Silent Hill, but like I'm sat there all here.
Did you not think it was funny though? Did you not have a laugh?
I did have a laugh, but then I was just like, man, I'm done with this. Like, honestly.
Mm.
I know. I thought it was brilliant.
Silhouettes in it in that shit, man, and then people.
It's
hard to
hard
shit
to
myself.
running through open fields. It was just anarchy. It was great, really good
I
fun.
didn't buy Silent Hill, man. I'm not into horror games.
I just took it for face value for what it was. Like, as far as I was concerned, I was like, if this rocks up in anything like esports related, I'm gonna start crying. But at the same time, like if we're playing like random games, it's just like it's super funny. Like some of this, I've played I think 2 or 3 games, and in each one of them, I ended up crying, laughing at some stupidity that happened somewhere. So
the only time they should have that fog is maybe that's the visual impairment you should have when you're actually in the blue.
Yeah.
You know,
Something like that.
yeah, the fog comes.
something like that. Yeah, the fog
noises.
comes in. The scary noises. Yeah.
What about
Because
you?
I can't see it. I can't play it.
What about you, Scoom? Weather, esports?
I like it. I like the fog when you're just playing casually, just for fun of it. But like, if for example, if I get a fog or any like competitor grinding, or for any tournament like get fog, they would just leave the game. You know, like in a competitive grind, if a team like they do that in rain, like teams leave in the rain games because it's too loud and they can't be bothered, and they just leave and then they just keep on joining until they get the normal weathers. I think the same is going to happen in fog. No one's really going to play the fog because it's fun. I like it. I actually really like it. I think it's fun, but that's it. It's not competitive. It's not like, yeah, it's completely, it's completely random. It's going to have so many people in the late circles, and no, not for competitive, but that's fog. I mean, for example, sunset is kind of fine for competitive. You know what I mean? Like as long as the weather doesn't.
I've not seen the sunset one.
No?
Lovely.
It's all right. I mean, sunset, the bright sunny and the normal one, I'm fine with it. Rain, I actually like rain, but as long as they make it not so loud, like it's super, super freaking loud. I think in that sense, it's for competitive, it's fun because you have different, like if let's say it's a best of 5 and it's a weather of each, that's actually kind of cool because you might play differently. I mean, depending how the weather is on certain maps, and some teams favor it, some teams not. I think it's okay.
We were speaking to Flom last week, and that I mean, even with the Mythic boys, they were mixing opinion with the weathers, and Flom particularly liked rain, like because it added an extra variable. You know, that it's harder to hear certain things.
Yeah.
You can break into houses and not necessarily be heard when things happen. So yeah,
something I'm disappointed with the patch. No, Keiron with the weather. I'll touch on this after.
Well, I've done anyway.
Yeah.
Something I'm disappointed with the patch is the crosshair. I know you can change the color now, but I really want some more like adjustability on that, and especially with like.
CS.
You don't want that. No, George, you think you want it, but you don't.
He will be in console constantly, changing it every freaking second.
Exactly. There's a reason why everyone is grinning like a Cheshire cat, because they know exactly what you like. What you need is no ability to change anything. You need one option, and then you stick with that one option. It never changes. Revise what you were just thinking.
So.
Bring rates into the game,
John. Something that bothers me massively is the optimization they keep doing, because it feels like with every patch my game gets like if I go to Yaz, I may as well just turn off the game. Like, so we made a suggestion yesterday when they were like, should we loot Yaz? And I was like, absolutely not. We're not going there under no circumstances.
That's like season 1. Season 1 was like that. Yaz was horrible.
You can even look towards
Georgia Pole was bad as well, wasn't it?
If you even look near Yaz, your PC would just be on its arse. It was terrible. But what I don't really understand about this patch is that they've gone out and they've said in the patch note specifically that they've improved the optimization for low-end PCs, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it says in the notes. But I think we're all running on pretty decent PCs, yeah. But I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it's not feeling as good as it has been. Do you guys feel like it's taken a hit over the last patch?
For me, it feels exactly the same as the last patch. I'm
You're running around on 30 FPS anyway.
Well, 40, 50 FPS. I'm running a 960
No, but-
and a 3750.
But that's interesting because we should be looking at Anton, shouldn't we? Because at the moment the patch note says optimized for people who don't have the best PC. So if we're saying that Anton's not got the best PC compared to us, we should be looking at Anton and going, so how's it for you, Anton? Are you seeing like benefits in this patch? Is it good for
No.
you? Because it ain't good for us, or it's not as good
I'm
as
not
we hoped
seeing
it
any.
would be.
I have not seen any improvements, but I haven't seen any losses either.
And the weird thing is the disco lights as well. Do you get disco lights? Because it says optimization for buildings, right? I think that's what they've tried to do, isn't it? Optimize buildings for low-end PCs. But my experience at the moment is if I run into a building, all the lights inside are changing.
I got to
It's
say,
like
textures look a bit flatter for me when I'm running
They've
up to
done something
buildings.
weird.
I know it's.
And I don't know whether anybody noticed it, but I was watching a few streams yesterday, and I played a couple of games as well, and the shadows just go off randomly, like, and it'll suddenly get bright, and the shadows have disappeared.
Yeah,
I think it actually happened to Daz yesterday.
Yeah, he ran to a rock and he was like, "Come here, boys,
Yeah.
I can see everything." And I was like, "What? What
Like,
do you
it
mean?"
just suddenly gets really light. So I think their optimization, I think, has gone a bit like a bit weird. They've also brought back that bug with the scope where you're getting the black dot, and I've tried no matter what I've changed the anti-aliasing, everything. And
It's
post processing. I can't get rid of it.
It's a false post processing that's doing that.
And I can't get rid of it. It's just there now. So
it's with the red dot only. You don't get it with the hollow. I only use hollow, so I don't really get that problem.
Not a lot. It upsets me.
What would
Switch over to the hollows.
What would you like to see in the next patch?
Optimization that actually works.
No more butterflies.
I feel like going back to that, like I feel like this patch, at least for me, they've gone back 3 patches on optimization. Mainly, I don't understand personally on an early access game why they want to force specific settings. Like the force shadows now. They say they optimize it, but they force shadows and they force post processing. I think they force post processing to fix the fog glitch that you could do. Like if you press tab, you could see through the fog in the fog weather. Whilst with post processing, it makes it blurry so that people couldn't abuse it. I think that's the reason they added it, but they shouldn't fuck up the whole game just to fix one thing. Like fix the fog thing first, leave it out of them until you do it. Like I feel like they rush patches way too fast. It used to be only 1 day patch and boom, live. Now it's 2 days. I personally feel that's not enough. I feel like they need like a week or something of feedback. Like so many issues in the patch and they don't fix. They go live and there's a million concurrent players playing. You're fucking up so many players. Then you haven't fixed it. You know what I mean?
They've changed the patching schedule to try and incorporate some kind of quality assurance. Because as you know, they used to do it weekly. Now it's like bi-weekly or monthly.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting that they're still kind of pushing these bugs out and not necessarily testing it to the way that you imagine they would do with that time frame. But I certainly feel that I don't know whether it's gone 2 steps back for me. I don't like the post processing at all. I don't know why you want your game to look blurry. Like, if anything, they should force it off for everyone instead of force it on for everyone, because it doesn't do anything but make the game blurry.
Is that to try? Were they trying to fix like the?
Well, it was saying about there was an issue with the fog.
I think it's that because, but I don't know.
But really, they should fix the fog issue rather than force people on to do that.
Yeah, if they have an issue of, like, let's say you can abuse the tab of the fog, just, I personally don't mind a patch waiting or like no foggy weather until that's fixed. I think everyone's fine with that. But when you do this initial fix, it not only, it fixes the foggy weather, but it fucks up the rest of the game because you're adding blood to people. It's like, for me, I get headaches when I'm playing. Like, I'm not even kidding. This patch has made me, like, every time I'm playing, like, something's off, something's blurry, the optimization's laggy, it's choppy, and I find it really tough to play right now. So, like, for me, it's fucked up the whole thing just to fix one thing,
Because Daz yesterday, he was getting a headache as well, and I hadn't actually realised they forced that directly on, so...
I noticed it.
I take one thing that I will say that's positive for me is the grenade rework. I kind of like how it works now with the cooking. I think it's a lot better than what we had before, right?
They seem powerful as well now.
I think they're a bit too powerful now, especially like the radius. It's not only I think the throwing is great. I think that change was needed because before you were throwing like just had no strength or something. The guy was just pop. And the thing that is good, but the radius got buffed now, so like you can stand 10 meters and take a shit ton of damage.
They're building clearing monsters.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, them becoming more viable. I like that. Before the grenades weren't that viable, but now like you can actually throw it from the distance and actually see, breach the buildings.
I was on the bad end of a breach, and nades were coming through the windows, and I was just like hiding in the place that I would normally hide, and I was thinking, this is fine, I don't have anything to worry about here, just sit this out, and then boom, my health goes down to like half. It's like, whoa, that was nowhere near me. Boom, knocked down. So yeah, like all of a sudden these nades are like incredibly powerful, especially for breaching, because like I said, the radius is just insane.
But for me, I would like things I would like to see added, like, and I noticed this yesterday, is when people are all prone next to each other, you can't step on them. That annoys me. So I'd like to have some form of like stacking or something added like that, because it's like it got really. We were in a dip yesterday, and everything got very awkward very fast because everyone's trying to prone and move around. And it's just like, for fuck's sake, get out of my way.
You mean through their teammates?
Yeah.
Right.
So they were proning on the floor, and I'm trying to move. And
and
I'm just like, are you kidding me right now? And then I get headshotted, and I just like, my keyboard goes out the window.
Maybe you'll be able to vault over your teammates.
What do you think about potential boosting? Do you think that would just make it really like a clusterfuck, like certain angles?
Oh, like CS boosting?
Yeah.
To be honest, I'd rather have that than vaulting.
Okay.
I'd rather have boosting than vaulting that they add in the game.
Yeah,
Add something more.
Yeah,
I would like more skillful stuff. Like I like the crouch jump, for example. Obviously, removing the people that can bind it. I feel like it's a skill aspect in the game to get into specific spots and like getting away, you know. And if boosting is added, like you can get into spots by, you know, helping each other and actually like doing something more skillful. Vaulting is just going to be like jump, press spacebar, and like everyone can do it. It's going to be more casual. You know, it's more the casual route than.
Oh, even I struggle with the crouch bug situation at the moment. Crouch jump. I've got my jump bound on mouse wheel. Normally my movement's good from CS, but like I get like, there was a game yesterday I couldn't get out the window, and then they were like, "Yep, see it." I was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, boys."
Yeah, but like, for example, it's a skill. Like, you can do it, you can't. If you get stuck or you don't. Like, but with vaulting, everyone's just gonna jump out. Everyone's gonna get in.
Yeah.
Aren't they on
I
about?
think boosting would be awesome though. Like because you can actually use that for various different strategies as well. Like, even if it's just like getting somebody's head just to be a smidgen over the wall.
Yeah, to peek over and snipe someone.
Peek over and snipe somebody. But,
that'd be fun.
Like, all sorts. Because you can do that on, you know, the large rocks by the beach at the moment. You can like just about lay on the rock, or like crouch on the rock, and then, you know, go up like a jack in the box and pop somebody in the head. So I think it will add a lot more variables for killing people in that type of.
Aren't they on about adding like a drop roll shot or something, like you can roll and?
What?
Someone was mentioning it the other day. They're on about like a roll shot where you can roll and it fires a bullet or something.
I haven't heard.
Maybe this is just a complete troll.
Well, like,
I hope it is. I hope it's a troll.
It does sound nutty. I can just
like a barrel roll shot.
I personally don't like those things. I don't like. I like things basic and clean and just smooth. I like CS style. You know, I just like that. I don't like animations, jumping, vaulting. You know, barrel rolling, stuff like that, proning, turning. I'm not a fan.
That's
of that.
my concern with vaulting, like you said.
Yeah.
It's going to be an automatic movement, basically. It's not going to require a timing skill. You're just going to run up to something, press space, and it's going to be like, all right, awesome.
Yeah, that skill aspect is going to be gone now.
Which is not something.
I understand it on a casual sense. Maybe the casual guys like it, but
this is where what we mentioned earlier is like, maybe we're going to have to, for this game to really push forward with esports.
Have like a pro mod, right?
Yeah. Like COD 4 did. They had a pro mod for, you know, for a very, very long time. And even in Source, I remember you mentioned that you were watching CGS back in the day. And, which, by the way, that was nice. I like that. But, yeah, even in CSS, we had like Z-Block, right? Because default CS was like completely screwed at that time. So maybe PUBG needs that. And actually, I think even the devs have come out and said they want the community to forge. They want it to be organic with the growth of esports. So maybe we need someone like Jedi back in the day to make like a pro mod for PUBG.
Yeah, I mean, think that vaulting would like you'd be able to remove vaulting in a pro mod though, because like there's only so much you could kind of do with a pro mod, isn't there? Like, I don't know if there'd be an option there to tick like disable vaulting in the game. Like, once they put vaulting in, that might just be it. It's in and it's done.
Yeah, and the only problem with that is like you can't go too away from the basic game, right? You can't like completely have like different settings, like far different from the casuals. Like it needs to be the same because if you're grinding casual games, like normal games, right? Because the leaderboards and stuff, unless they put it for competitive, like let's say there's a competitive leader mode, and that is the pro mode, like they added.
But this. I like the point you're touching on because like this is where I think CS fails is the fact that in PUBG I can show my mother, my brother, they can come in and play a ladder game, which is basically the same environment as a pro game, and that's what I think we need to maintain because this is why the game's so popular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyone? I think Anton's talking, but his mic's muted.
I didn't realise I muted my microphone. You just see my lips moving. I was saying I agree. I mean, yesterday I didn't even notice that my son had come down. He was watching me play, and he actually cheered because I got I got stuck in a bad situation with the last circle, but I came second. But he was stood there behind me for ages, just watching me play, and he completely understands the game because it's just enjoyable for him to watch. And whilst there's other games, it's quite a long-winded game. If you're going to get to the last circle, you put in a lot of time and a lot of effort. But you can actually, it's quite fun to watch. Still, just watching somebody loot and picking up all this stuff and going places, putting themselves in positions. And he was sat behind me. I didn't know, completely absorbed by it. And then I got second place, and he cheered. He was like, "Oh, Dad, that was amazing! It's such a shame you didn't get first place." And I think that's what this game has is people from all walks of life can come and watch this game.
That's kind of like an RPG element, isn't it? Like
yeah, exactly.
Like
but
an RPG, like if you're playing like a Diablo 2 or something like that as well. What I love is obviously just getting like better items. You get rare items and stuff like that. So picking stuff up is quite an easy aspect to follow.
But I think people also get behind. I know, like a lot of the old school people. I think we all say for it here because we play from CS. People are like, yeah, you can't compare it to real life. But I think this game actually borders on, like it's in between. There is a kind of a reality aspect to it. Like there's an aspect to the game that has a feeling of realism.
Oh, you're dead right, mate.
And I think that's what grabs it is like.
That's probably why you can't have a red dot on a Tommy gun.
Yeah, but like
Liar.
I think that's what grasps a lot of things is that realism aspect, and it also touches on what you were saying earlier, George, about proning and bumping into your mates. Like you should be able to crawl over your mate, because I think in a game that has so many aspects of realism in it, they should actually look into things like that. Yes, you should be able to stand on your mate's shoulders. Yes, you should be able to crawl over your boy who's sat behind you, medding because he's in your way. You can't turn around because he's prone blocked you. I think obviously stacking like 4 people on top of each other and shit is a bit weird, but we don't want this PUBG orgy going on. But
I mean, doesn't like CS have the pushing animation when you're close to another guy, you're like pushing each other? Isn't that CS, or am I thinking another game?
No.
Does CS block you as well? Like if the team is in front of you?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
you can jump on top of them, and
but
you can also like
top.
fucking running jump. Which let's not even get into that.
You can jump. You used to be able to on early source and 1.6. You used to be able to double stack. You could have 2. You could jump on multiple heads, but they've stopped that. So you can only have one person stood on another person. You can't. If
the third one like slides off, right? The third one slides. Yeah.
Slides off. Yeah.
One of the most interesting notes for me about the patch is they seem insistent on trying to make the crossbow relevant. Like they've just increased the reload speed by 35%. But I think it was Oliver that mentioned, like, or was it Daz? He mentioned that maybe just have the crossbow as like a different slot entirely, and you can use it. I don't know. Maybe you could have some cool mechanic where you shoot into a wall and climb up a building or something, like Batman zip wire.
James Bond.
I think it's fine as it is. I feel like if you add it as an extra slot, they would have to nerf the damage and stuff like that. But I'm just thinking about in a competitive play. Let's say I see a lot of people with crossbows, and then you don't hear this. They just randomly getting hit by a crossbow, and they can one-shot a tier 3 helmet. I don't want to be playing a game and just like, oh, I just got one shot by tier 3 helmet, by a crossbow, I feel like it's going to be too random.
I mean,
it's going to be disgusting.
So obviously we touched on the patch that you said. So my thing to add would be boosting. You said just optimization at work. No more butterflies, basically, Bluehole, in the fields. That's probably a good
Mate.
start.
Those butterflies, man.
But you know what gets me is the
But they're beautiful.
bushes, the bushes that don't render, and I always think I see someone. And it's like, oh my god, yeah, that's not good. That's not a good look. But
Like, I proper called out stuff because of a butterfly, like in the distance. I just be like, northeast 60. Where, Anton? No, it's all right. It's a butterfly.
are you hoping the desert map comes out soon, Scoom?
Yeah. I am at the same time. I'm not. I rather. I'm more on the side that I want them to fix the game before adding like a lot of content and not fixing it. You know what I mean? I'd rather have the game in a good shape before adding all these stuff.
Do you mean in terms of like the actual game itself, or do you mean like in terms of nailing down a competitive rule set?
The game itself first. I feel like the rule set should come after. I feel like it's fine that they're doing tournaments right now and it's being competitive, but I feel like the game should be done before they actually do this. Like I hope like everyone gets this, stable FPS before all this stuff. Because if you play competitive right now, with the rotations of the cars, I mean, they added in the patch notes. It says it here. I'm going to read it. It says, optimize client and server performance when there are multiple vehicles in a close vicinity. This did not do shit. Like I'm playing custom games right now, scrims or tournaments, and with 60 plus or 60 to 70 players, right? And every rotation of the circle, people take their cars. It causes a server, no matter what PC you have, by the way, you get like 15 to 40 FPS on these rotations, and it makes it really like, what am I doing here? Like a car comes by, I'm trying to shoot at it, but with 15 FPS or 20 FPS, you can't really do much. And like they need to fix that. I rather that is fixed. Like everyone have on a competitive game 100 FPS before adding anything. Like I think they need to fix it.
Playing a bit of devil's advocate though, I think like because the game's done so well, like 1.3 million concurrent players yesterday, we have to remember it's early access. Like it's like this game for early access and the way the devs are handling it, it might like okay, there's things like that's fucking shitty, especially when it's going to cost money or placements, but the way I'm really impressed with like Valve. I wish Valve were like these devs, and I can't say enough. Like I'm just really impressed with how polished it is so far, and I can't like when it's released, like holy shit.
No, yeah, I agree with that completely. Like I'm super impressed with devs. I think the devs are doing a great job, but like I'm just giving my opinion on what I think should be fixed in the future.
Yeah, I think there's an overarching kind of feeling in a lot of the community. You got this a lot with the Gamescom crates, where immediately people just saying, "Why are you adding crates to the game? There's all these things that need to be fixed.
Yeah,
like, just focus on this first." But I mean, like a lot of again, this is I don't know the best way to put this, but I'm no games developer, but like. Someone also made an argument that, like, in the games development process, there's things which are going to take like weeks and months. So, like, the ironing out of like the FPS and like making things more consistent optimization is going to take weeks and months. Whereas adding a crate won't be done by the same people that are doing the optimization. It's a different team within the company, and it only takes them X amount of time to do it. Blah 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 blah. So yeah, like. They seem to be in a tricky spot because they're kind of pushing out this content and they're doing these things, and you've got half the community saying, "Oh, great, it's nice we got some crates." The other half of the community saying, "Oh, just stop doing the crates, just get on with the optimization." So it's a funny spot for them to be in.
Did they do anything for the Irma, the hurricane stuff? Did they? I can't remember if I read something about that.
I don't think they have, but they probably would. I mean, they're really involved with charity, right? So.
Yeah.
I think for me, it kind of. I'm in two minds about it because obviously as devs, I love the brilliant communication they put out is amazing. The amount of working with community, they're brilliant. But we've also got to remember that their initial timelines for early access would have been nearly up by now. They've actually
it was 6 months, right?
Yeah, they've actually
would have been now.
Yeah, so they've extended it, which is fine. That's all well and good, but I think they chose a particular engine. The Unreal Engine because of its adaptability and ease of use to be able to actually optimize it. And obviously it's a little bit dated, so they're having issues with it. But I still think that they should be putting more onus personally on.
I still think
on the optimization.
With
an engine that is it's been around for so long. There should be no reason why there's other games that are more optimized on that same.
Someone
engine.
should have made this game on the Grand Theft Auto engine, I reckon.
Oh, completely. You know, but I think
That would have been sweet, right?
I think Rockstar are a bit close with that. I don't think that's an open engine. They're a bit close on it. Maybe Wildlands engine would have been a good one.
Mm.
That's kind of perfect for this type of game. So, but that's just my thoughts. I think with an engine that's been around so long, there should not really be an excuse for the optimization issues that we're having months down the line. Personally,
Yeah,
that's not a disrespect.
It's a
It's not
scale
disrespect
thing,
to them.
though.
Yeah.
Because like it's like the only, I don't know. Again, I'm no expert, but like I don't know. Has anyone ever tried to push the Unreal Engine to 100 people on a server with a map on an 8x8
Well,
and blah blah?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, ARK was Unreal Engine 4, and ARK had a lot of optimization issues, same as this game is having.
Same
Yeah.
as Rust as well. I think that's Unreal. Maybe.
It's
I
a
wanna say
massive
it is.
ask for someone to go and make their own engine bespoke for a game, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, look what happened with H1Z1.
Yeah.
Oh no, Rust is on Unity. Christ, no wonder.
H1Z1 had its own proprietary engine, didn't it? Kind of a bit weird.
The other thing as well is I kind of do wonder, like, if the game hadn't been as popular as it was, if the kind of dev cycle would have come to an end around the 6-month period, and the game would be maybe more complete, but kind of less fleshed out with less ambitious ideas
Good
of other
point.
maps and things in the future. And maybe they've just gone, oh, hang on a minute, boys, we're onto a winner here. We're selling X amount of million copies. We seem to be taking the world by storm. Maybe this is an opportunity to kind of flesh this out into something a lot bigger and a lot more of an ambitious project than we ever envisioned. But I mean, if that's the case, I think that there's this kind of demarcation point now, isn't there? Like Scoom was saying, the 6 months is coming to an end, so maybe it's gonna have to come forward from them as a press release saying, look, we could have given you this and we could have delivered it by now, but we've decided that we're going to deliver this instead. It's going to take a little bit longer.
They did do that. They did say they couldn't do 6 months, and they were going to say by the end of the year, right? I think they said by the end of the year, but even still, I don't think in 2 or 3 months this game is going to be complete. In my opinion, like all the stuff they still need to add and optimize, I think it's going to take at least 6 months plus that for it to be fully released.
Well, the time will tell when Coffee Lake comes out, and if the game's still not like running smooth, then it's gonna be something with the engine that needs to be maybe a rework of something, because it's not you can't have a competitive esport where you're getting 20 FPS when
exactly.
four cars are driving around.
Oh, you can't have a competitive esport where you expect everyone to have a Coffee Lake CPU either. That's cards, you know.
And touching with that's one of the things that I don't like that they did in this patch is force shadows and force processing. I don't think any settings in an early access game should be forced. I mean, they can force it in testing, like the test server, and see how people are handling it. But if the original game is already badly optimized and people are getting bad FPS, obviously forcing shadows is going to make it worse. It's not going to better at people's FPS. It's just a normal thing that everyone knows, right? They shouldn't be forcing settings, at least right now. If they want to force settings for fair play, do it once it's released. Do it once you've done full optimization and then people's PCs can handle the initial thing. Than doing this, I feel like they just don't force anything. Let people play, because now maybe people with low-end PCs can't even play because of force shadows. So I feel like they should optimize first, don't force anything, and then go from there.
So what I want to know is, obviously you did Gamescom. I imagine you guys are staying together as a team after coming forth. What's kind of what have you guys been competing in? What's next for you? Because there's no real. I know there's a rumor mill about what potential land could be coming up. Maybe it's going to be added to a certain circuit. Don't want to give too much away, but what have you what's next for Liquid and you personally?
Just pretty much play as many online communities and practice together, because we all, unlike other teams out there, we didn't start with squads. We started I was mainly playing solos. As the first season I was soloing and streaming. Then it was duos, and I was practicing duos and competing in duos. So I was more used to that. And when you play solos and duos to squads, it's kind of completely different, right? It's a different meta. I mean, the meta's kind of similar-ish, but it's different, the way people play. So obviously we're kind of a new team. We've never really played all together since only 1 month before Gamescom. That's when we started playing together. So we are kind of far behind compared to other teams out there that have been playing since day one, squads all the time, right? So we have a lot of catching up to do. I think individually we're all really good players. We just need to improve, our calls. We need to improve playing together, really. So we practice, we had a boot camp before Gamescom, which went really well. And I feel like we're confident, but we still have a lot more room to improve for sure. Every time because if you play right now, at least in my opinion, if you play leaderboards compared to just like a competitive game, it's completely different. Like you can be a really good team and leaderboards, like because you just like monster. Like individual play and leaderboards is fine because you just go around killing people. But when you play these competitive games where there's 15 other teams that are good and they're all getting into really good positions, if you're just late in one rotation, you're fucked. Like it's just so much more about positioning and rotation than individual play that you need to learn. And like for example, I feel like we struggled that at the beginning, but we have made a lot of improvements. And for example, another team that struggled, I think it's TSM. Like TSM play together a lot on stream. They're playing fours, they're playing leaderboards. They're really good players, but when they go into these competitive fours, they're struggling the same as we did. They don't know how to adapt. They're not, because they're not experienced enough. So for us right now,
I was disappointed in them at Gamescom, I gotta say.
I love the guys. I'm friends with them, all of them. But it's not. I'm shocked. I'm not just like I knew this was gonna happen. I knew that they were not gonna really perform that well compared to other teams because of this. I feel like they can be a really good team if they keep putting in practice, but I don't know if they are. I don't know if they're putting in this practice. Haven't seen them in some tournaments. I know they played like the Cursed Trials, but that's duos. It's not squads. I don't know if they're gonna play Awesome, but that's a 4-man. Like you need to take part in these, even if it's with random teams. It's really good. It's much better practice than playing leaderboards. You need to play scrims. You need to get used to playing squads. Like it's really key in my opinion.
Do you think ESL are just biding their time before they release an official ladder like league, like we have like in CS, like the ESEA Premier and all that?
I don't know. I guess that's a good way to go for PUBG, but like for example, the leaderboards in PUBG I think is too grindy. It doesn't say like who, like if you look at the top 10 in leaderboards, they don't really say too much, like especially in solos and duos.
It just tells you who's put them out. Time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a time thing, isn't it? Really.
And it should be more of a skill, like but that needs a different algorithm and whatsoever. But yeah, ESL having a league, I think maybe would be a nice idea. I think Battle Royale, the most fun of it is just a tournament. Like I think that's more fun than a league, personally.
I'd like to see what we had back in the day. Like, do you remember years ago the CPL World Tour with Painkiller? Something like that for PUBG would be nice. So your league is essentially it's a tour throughout the year. Let's say it's 6 tournaments, and throughout the tournament you add up points, and then the grand final kind of thing. I think that would be really nice.
Yeah, I think that was the idea that someone said. I think it was Vis TSM. He mentioned like in future tournaments, I think for BR would be nice. But he said it for an event. For example, let's say it's a 3 or 4 day event and it's squads only. And every day you have a best of 5 or best of 7 or however you want to have it, right? You have a best of 5. And if you win that day, you win a prize money. And then each day it's its own day. But then at the end, you add them all up. And that's the overall like thing, like you just said, right? But that's in like 1 week's event. I think. Yeah.
What do you think's most fair on that subject? Best of 3, best of 4, best of 5?
I mean, the most fair, the more you have, the more fair it is, right? This game is. I always compare it to tournament, like poker tournaments.
Yeah.
I feel like it's super similar. Like you can be a really good poker player, but you can play like 20 poker tournaments and not cash in any, right? I feel like the more tournaments you play, the more people see who are the best teams, who are the best players, right? So the more games you have, the better it is. But at the same time, it needs to be fun for the viewers. Like you can't have a best of 50. Like who's gonna watch that grind? You know, like the players might play over a course of days, but to actually watch, you need to have the balance between skill and viewer pleasure.
Do you think the way Awesome do it with the kill points is probably the most balanced for this game, the scoring?
I think so. I think Awesome is probably the tournament that has the best point to placements right now, I would say.
What is the point to placement in Awesome?
Hold on, let me bring it up.
Because we played in a
Can't put him on the spot like that, Dan.
Well, I'm just going to say, because we played in a VVV like Armageddon tournament, it was really highly point orientated towards kills, although you still got loads of placements. I'm not quite sure what the Awesome one is.
Oh, the Awesome is a point per kill. First place is 32, 25, 20, 15, 13, 11, 9, 7, 5, 3, 1, 0.
Yeah, so
it's like similar to like I feel like this point system should be similar to like what racing, like car racing is, like Formula 1, like NASCAR kind of thing, the way they do point systems on placement. But like some of them, like the reason I like this is because there's a difference between each placement. For example, first and second is 7 difference, right? 32 and 25. and second and third is 5. So every position is going down smaller. Other organizations, for example, Cursed, the way they did it, I wasn't really didn't like it that much. It was like first was 100, second was 90, third was 80, 70. So it was like 10 for each breakdown, and it didn't give winning that much importance. You know what I mean? There wasn't much of a difference. I think in Battle Royale, winning should be the main thing, right? You're winning, you're surviving the game. No matter how many kills you get, you should be winning the game. That should be for the viewers what they like seeing as a winner, right? Obviously, they like watching kills. I think kills should be super important, but it shouldn't be so important that, let's say, a team that comes second gets, let's say they get 10 kills, get more points than the team that comes first, like get 2 or 3.
No.
It's confusing to a lot of viewers as well.
Yeah,
how do you explain to someone that the person that won the game didn't actually win the game?
Yeah, exactly. You can't have a situation like that. I'm fine with that if a team that comes, let's say, 5th place or 6th place with a lot of kills get more points than the 2nd place. I feel like second to whatever, I don't care. Like the main thing should be winning, at least in my opinion. I think there's a lot of mixed opinions on that, but
I'd love it to be less random with the circle.
Going back to the ESL thing, what you were saying about ESL, what George was saying about ESL in this tournament is, I think that it's probably, if you're a big company like ESL, what a wise idea might be to do at the moment is to sit back and look at things like PUBG Online and like the awesome tournaments and all the other tournaments that are going, because they're all doing things slightly differently. They're all giving slightly different allocations for kill points, and like you were saying about how much points are allocated between all the different positions. So yeah, if I was ESL, I would be sitting back at the moment and watching and saying like, oh, actually this is how this has been done and this looks pretty good. This one doesn't look good. So yeah.
If I was ESL, I'd be watching out of the blue vodcast and getting ideas because we're fucking awesome.
Really? Is
that
how you be doing?
Yeah, if I was ESL, I'd be taking notes from the pros.
The thing
I think it is really interesting though with all the kind of the way that the tournaments are run, and I think it's a really good thing for the scene is to see that people haven't just gone, right, this is the way we're doing it, boys. It's kind of everyone's gone, well, we'll try it this way, see how that works. Try it that way. I think eventually, after it all, it's going to come down to a really good rule set.
If you're going to have like the winner having more importance, then surely you need to make the circle a bit less RNG.
No, for sure. I mean, if you look at tournaments in competitive play, the teams that end up winning look back what circles they had and what positions they had. They got given the circle majority of the time. They got lucky, right? That's what happens with teams. But some teams do adjust and like rotate properly and stuff like that, and end up winning or placing consistently, right? But yeah, I understand what you mean. Like the circle, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, like the circle needs a revamp anyways from the beginning.
I like what you said about armor. Like that idea was the best, in my opinion.
And the whole map, I'm not a fan of buildings, especially in squads with a knockdown system. I would love to see PUBG without a knockdown. Like nerf the damage a little bit, so it's because right now you kind of die a little bit fast. Nerf the damage a little bit across the board, and remove knockdowns. I just want to see how it would play out.
Yeah, for sure, like a hardcore mode.
Because then buildings don't become super OP. Because right now in buildings, you can just sit there, watch people rotate. If you get shot, your teammates that's knocked you down, like revive you all the time. You know, you have unlimited lives.
Can you imagine that? Like, sitting in a window, you get your head ripped off. Well, I'm done for, guys.
I mean, you have the option to remove it in a custom games, but no tournament organizer have tried it. Like, I feel like people should be trying a lot of different things. Like, a lot of organizers also have default settings. Like one thing that Curse Trials did this past weekend, that they added 2x AR and 2x ammo on the thing, so more people had actual ARs and stuff like that. I think trying things is good. You can't have default. Just because it's default in casual play doesn't mean it's going to be good in competitive. You need to, in my opinion, they need to like remove pistols. Like put pistols less chance to grab. Specific guns that you don't see in competitive that much. Like kind of like remove it.
I'd even have you spawn in with a pistol. Like,
I would be trying everything at this point, every available option, because there's no harm in doing it. You're either going to find out stuff that works, stuff that doesn't. It's going to make everything better in the long run.
No, that would be a terrible idea, right? Spawning with pistols, and then you just have to reload it when you hit the ground.
Oh, gee. No. No.
Just get rid of him. I honestly don't really see a massive
no one carries
use of them after the first few.
It's only when you jump and go in a building and you get whatever gun you get. If you get a pistol, you get that and you fight a guy, and then you drop it once you get a decent gun.
Or use it for carrying red dots around for other people.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah,
or shooting if you got a silencer, shooting out windows if you can't bother to punch them. Yeah, like it really has the most stupid uses.
I mean, I think there's just I feel like the loot table right now is a bit that they take so much space over other loot that is just like you don't need it. Like right now it's like 1x is default, right, across the board. Like make them 0.5, so half the chance of finding one, and I'm fine with that. Like if you get a pistol, you get it, but don't remove. It's so much random in the game that you're removing from that part as well, you know.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. So obviously you said what you guys are doing. I imagine there is room of another LAN tournament. So secretly, will you do a boot camp if that gets announced?
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully a longer boot camp too, because the way Gamescom was pretty rushed. By the time we signed with Liquid, we only had like literally 1 week and a half or 2 weeks to boot camp, but like we only had like a proper boot camp of 1 week as a full squad. I mean, me and Hollywood were there a bit earlier, but the other guys couldn't make it because of certain reasons. But yeah, if there's a next tournament that we've heard rumors too.
yeah. It's like,
we're definitely gonna do boot camp, a longer one. I think it's beneficial.
I think if those rumors do come true, I think that'll be the start, the big kickstart for PUBG as a proper esport. And I think as long as the community, like you said, just tries things out and keeps nurturing it, I think 1.3 million players it speaks for itself, right?
Yeah, it's huge. But at the same time, even though I want to see tournaments as a player, as a competitor, I don't want to see it. Like, I don't want to, for example, now ESL go, oh, we're going to do a tournament next month.
Yeah.
I would be like, it's not ready yet. Like, I think it wasn't ready at Gamescom either, optimization-wise, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to play a competitive game with 15, 20 FPS when cards are rotating.
I think it was good, though, to get it out there and show the world and be like, okay, can this work? And I think what Gamescom proved is, yes, it definitely can work. It's just how... now they need to plan it. Yeah.
They showcase how it would be for them to plan it. They showcase what it would look like. They tried the GameStone crates. How would that be implemented in tournaments? I think it was like that. It's just showcase. But I don't think with the success of that, we should make another one instantly. You know, I feel like should just wait, improve it, optimize, and then like make a proper one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So obviously I've touched on the patch notes. We touched on Liquid. Is there anything you would like before we wrap this? Is there anything you would like to say to your fans? And just he's like, I put him on the spot. He's like,
I never know what to say in these things.
I'll give you a clue. Thank your sponsors.
I wanna. Yeah, sure. I mean, the sponsors help a lot. HyperX, Razer, Monster, Jinx, Alienware. HTC. They all help us a lot. So
yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate having you on, taking your time out on the Sunday, especially. I know don't want to keep you too long because you've obviously got the tournament to go to, right?
Yeah,
a couple of hours. Yeah. So yeah, just want to say thank you very much. That's been Liquid Scoom, obviously Keiron, Prescott, and once again, thank you to the team. And yeah, see you next time.
Cheers, on, buddy.
So we just wrapped our PUBG section with Liquid Scoom. Can't thank Keiron enough for coming on. He was an absolutely fantastic guest. Lots of insight and information that he gave to us about PUBG, especially me. I'm learning new things every week. But now I bring you to the retro section. September 1999, if we cast our memory back, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater came out on the PlayStation. Actually, I only just found out that they had a Game Boy Color edition of this game.
Did they?
No idea about that. Does anyone?
Wikipedia page.
Yeah, definitely on the Wikipedia page.
I spotted that as well, actually. I didn't know about it either, so I just remember the PlayStation. Yeah, I didn't know that either. I was just having a look about
I can't even imagine what that would have been like.
Yeah, but that's not the one that people remember, is it?
No, PlayStation.
PlayStation one. Oh my god, what a game.
So what's your favorite memories about that? Because I only remember playing, like, I must have been quite young at the time, and we played the warehouse map, and I just remember the music being the thing for me. Obviously Superman, Goldfinger. I think Goldfinger even featured in Counter-Strike movies, so that's probably where my affiliation comes with from that. But what about for you guys?
Yeah, I'd have to say the music for me is just the big thing. I love the gameplay as well. It was also one of those games where like you could kind of just pass the control around and I just enjoyed watching people like try and do their own runs and stuff like that as well. It was quite an interesting game to watch because obviously you got I think it was 2-minute runs essentially as well. So like it was quite interesting trying to watch your mates like obviously try and beat your score or try and do all the objectives all in one, like as few sit-ins as possible, I guess.
Honestly, when I first got that game, it had me, 3 of the mates all crowded around my CRT TV, like burning holes.
Not homeless this time,
right?
Not homeless this time, yeah.
No, I wasn't homeless at this time. I had a place for my PlayStation at least. no, it wasn't a shed or anything like that. But I remember playing the game and realizing how fucking frustrating it was when you first like tried to do it, like bailing over the most petty shit, and like eventually, like over like this course of hours, you suddenly started. It just started to like make sense. And that first moment when you launch off that ramp on Warehouse, and you get that trajectory just right, and you launch off the fucking ramp and go through the fucking that that
The
building
two
above it,
windows.
the
Yeah,
two
the
windows,
yeah.
with a grab, then land on the other side. It gives you bonus points for clearing the whole jump, and grind round the edge, and then landing at a mate. Honestly, it's the most satisfying thing ever.
The evolution of the 1 minute trick,
And-
where
and
all
you
of a
just-
sudden you just
yeah.
can't end a trick. It's
got
like
your
trick
balance-
into manual, into grind,
and,
into
and
manual.
your mate's
into
looking
trick.
at you like, how the fuck are you doing this? And you're like, I don't know. But it feels fucking amazing. And that successful run you get, you're just looking for that all the time with every part of that game. You're just looking for it.
I think I threw a controller at my cousin because we played the Xbox version of the game, and he was just incredible. Like, he would just start off and never stop. Like, he would literally just keep moving but yeah, and his points were just a joke. We just, in the end, we were just like, we're not playing you. But I think
some people had the balance down, didn't they? Which just pissed me
I
off.
was that
There
guy.
was always one person. Like, I
was
good,
that
but
guy.
some of my mates.
Balance forever.
one of my things was, though, if I remember correctly, you couldn't pick the song right, and I just remember restarting the level about 100 times till you got the one you wanted. I don't know if that was the experience you guys had with the game, but
No. I was happy to listen to every song. It was all killer, no fella.
All of them, because it was like really punky ska stuff.
Yeah, it was great.
So it was
Yeah,
like,
Blood Brothers is the one I remember from the second one, which is well, I love Papa Roach anyway. So.
It proper gave it a skatey feel as well,
Yeah, it
didn't
did.
it? It really kind of like made the game. Like,
Yeah, because I didn't
know.
skate in real life just because I had no bloody balance. So I kind of enjoyed that I could.
I skated
obviously do
after
it for
Tony
this.
Hawk's. Like Tony Hawk's, I got a skateboard after that straight away and was
I
absolutely
tried.
dog shit. Yeah, I was dog shit. I tried it for I don't know a month, and I ended up getting loads of injuries. I was just like, man, this is not for me.
So
I'm gonna get back sitting on the PlayStation.
I was a big skater before Tony Hawk, so that's why I really, really fell in love with it, and like fell in love with the skate scene before that. But I found what Tony Hawk's did is it opened up for a lot more. Like you said, Dan, you didn't skate until after you played it.
Yeah, for sure,
Tony
man.
Hawk's was the thing that drove it, and that actually that's a really, really valid point. Like, there's loads of people that I knew that wasn't really interested in skating after playing that game wanted to skate. But not only that, like, you know, the names of the players the names of the skaters that were in there became household names. Like, you know, even what's her name, Elisa Steamer or whatever her name is. I'd never heard of that skater before, but she was included in the game, and like all of a sudden you're just learning about skaters just because of this fucking game.
Yeah, man.
Brilliant.
Rodney Mullen. That's mine.
That's
mine. Rodney Mullen.
Because like mine as well. Yeah.
Because if you remember, I can't remember if it was.
Dark
I
Slide.
can't remember which one it was, but one of them, if you completed it as a character, it showed you like a proper video of them like doing tricks and stuff.
It was Mullen.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember that? And Rodney Mullins, because Rodney Mullen was
about that.
He was like a freestyle master. He was the kind of guy that like he just puts the skateboard on the spot and just does tricks on the spot, and he wins all these. He won like tournament after tournament after tournament, and then I only realised this from googling Rodney Mullen, and then there was an amazing Rodney Mullen video, and it had Dream On by Aerosmith in the background, and it was like Rodney Mullen at night skating around doing some of the most incredible tricks you've ever seen. So yeah, like it did, you did the right, it kind of did proper like open your eyes up to all these new kind of like skaters. Like, again, Rodney Mullen, I don't know if you'd say he's a household name, but I certainly know who Rodney Mullen is from like watching his stuff in that game.
Rodney Mullen, Tony Hawk, Chris Cole, Nigel Houston, Andrew Reynolds, Lindsay, Hawkins, Pastrana. I was just reading because
Bam Majera,
one of the later ones.
Yeah, he came into a bit later.
Well, that's my next question. How many of the others did you guys actually play?
I played right up till Tony Hawk's 4. Then after that, it got to.
I played till 4. Yeah.
It got too open worldy, and I got a bit.
That was included in all the ones where Bam obviously got quite involved, because I got a couple of them in front of me, like the American Wasteland one.
Yeah,
where Bam got very involved and it was open, and you kind of just Well, you were fucking about actually. The skating was still there, but you were fucking about with weird characters and weird maps and
Yeah, so
weird people. It kind of
Homeless
lost.
people. There's like loads of homeless people
Oh
in one
yeah,
of those
yeah, there
games.
was.
Why are these
so
guys
for
here?
me, like in Tony Hawk's series up until 4 was very unique in its take. Whereas like normally you'd have sequels to games, and that the sequel wouldn't quite be as good as the original. But for Tony Hawk's, actually, Tony Hawk's 2 was a vast improvement on Tony Hawk's 1. Whilst Tony Hawk's 1 was amazing, I think they held enough back off the first one to add to the second one. So they added reverts and like being able to control manuals in a different way, so you could link even more tricks and things. And then to 3, they added some more stuff. And I think there was the game never got boring. It's only when it started to go a bit free world, because I suppose they worked more on being less constrained. They actually worked less on the game content itself, I think. But that's just my opinion, yeah, that's why I stopped after 4.
But then they released the HD remake, right, in 2012.
Oh,
It's playing out of LAN in August.
And in 2017, they take it off of Steam. Now, this game pretty much bombed, but it's a remake of the original. What in your opinion was the reason?
My honest opinion, I found that some of the quirks that was in the original, that made the original so special, they kind of removed. So like,
It's too clean cut, isn't it?
yeah, it was too clean. But also, I found that, for example, and this will make sense to anybody who's played the remake. When you bailed on the original, right, you just got up off the floor where you were, and you could either skate right the way back to the top of where you were to try and do your run again, or you just continue your run from where you bailed, But on the remake, as soon as you bail, you start at the top, and that's really fucking annoying, because you're trying to do your run or whatever, and then I think maybe they thought it'd be nicer so you don't have to skate right the way back to the top or whatever. But they could have put in a feature where you do like start and select, it takes you to the top, but it actually just restarts you at the start of the level as soon as you bail. And I think that kind of made it a bit shit. But also they mixed up like maps from different versions of Tony Hawk's as well. So it wasn't, whilst it was an HD remake of the original, there was also other maps from other.
Well, they
Tony
picked
Hawk's
the
games.
best maps from like the originals, really.
Yeah,
Which I quite like, to be fair, because I
It's still a
remember
great game,
all of those ones, like downhill jam and stuff like that. It's just
yeah, and the shopping
a
mall.
fucking nightmare. Yeah, that one's a fucking nightmare as well, because they are so downhill. Like your runs get wrecked quite easily. You're just going too fast.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but to
I
start
do love-
start for doing it, it's like,
I
don't know.
I think it was like the last one was 5, right? Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, and it wasn't. It was that again was poorly received, and I read, I think in the week, that he's actually deciding to make a new Pro Skater, but without Activision involved. So I'm not sure like what's going to go down there, but I mean, do you think the concept of the game, if it's well made, would be well received still, or not so much anymore?
It's a tricky one because Skate 3 it did quite well, and it had quite a cult following for a long time, mainly because of some of the stupid shit you could do. But obviously it was more realistic than what Tony Hawk's became. I think the original.
I
Tony
love
Hawk's
the
was
skate
quite,
series after Tony Hawk started messing up.
Yeah, so I think there still is room for that type of game, but it needs to be executed really, really well, and not having so much faff and stupid stuff going on.
Yeah, I think the beauty of the first game is the simplicity.
Yeah,
I think that one of the difficult things for game developers nowadays is if they were to bring out a game as simple as Tony Hawk, it would have to be at a proper diminished price point. But then if you start adding loads of features and content to it, to try and flesh it out into kind of a more of an expensive title, it loses every part of the appeal of it being a simplistic game. So I think like if they were going to do it again, just keep to it being a real simple formula, like more of just like that kind of simple thing that everyone likes, that really nice formula, and then just keep a reduced price point. But I don't think that's going to be massively like exciting to a developer to release a game for like a brand new game for like $9.99 on Steam. Like they're just not going to care for it. So
there's nothing out there at the moment either.
Fleshed out DLC, skins for skateboards, all that kind of crap, and people are just going to be like, "Well, that's not really why I want to play it," but okay.
I think that's definitely a problem in the modern games industry is microtransactions. Like, I get it's great because it also funds the games, but it's almost sometimes developers focus too much on that and how cool things can look rather than the fundamentals of the gameplay. And
could you imagine you're playing Tony Hawk's online and some kid has bought some Richter Slims with red bearing and he's just fucking tearing past you because his mum's giving him $9.99 so he can buy some better wheels for his skateboard. Fucking kidding me?
Or if you're playing the game and listening to a tune, and then all of a sudden it said, right, sorry, you've listened to this tune 10 times. If you want to listen to it again, you've got to buy it. Or like, it just keeps switching the soundtrack.
Honestly,
it's
I
like
can actually imagine that.
Every week's a different soundtrack because they're sponsored by whatever company and they're pushing that music forward to be listened to by anyone that's playing the game. Like, yeah.
I could really imagine that happening.
Guitar Hero was a bit like that, wasn't it? Guitar Hero was like, oh yeah, well now you have to buy all the songs and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But yeah. No.
Got a great place in my heart, man.
Oh, of course, man. Tony's like one of the greatest games going, and yeah, like I said, I think it inspired, like you said, sorry, like it inspired loads of people to pick up skateboarding. I would love to, if there was a statistic out there, I would like to know how many wrists were broken because of Tony Hawk's the game.
Fucking hell, yeah.
I wonder if it's got a place with VR. Can you imagine that? Jesus.
Oh my god.
That'd be
you need a padded room, wouldn't you? Like...
Mate, padded room. You need cables attached to you so you couldn't fall over.
I know, but it's so bonkers.
Oh my god,
because like
that would be mental.
If I did that, right? If I did that, my dad would come in and he'd be like, how much did your PC cost? I'd be like, the VR PC, about $1.5, $2 grand. How much that headset cost? Oh, 300 quid. And you're doing what with it? I'm pretending to skateboard, yeah. And he would just be like, here's a piece of wood with some wheels on it. Why don't you just go and do it? And it costs like 50 quid. You're an idiot.
But you'd have to have like a skateboard on like a running machine. You know what I mean?
Hey, look, man, if VR's going to take off, we need some of these crazy ideas.
Failing, you'd actually end up falling over because you'd feel like mate. Honest to God.
Hey, look, if indoor skiing's a thing, why can't that be a thing? That's all I'm saying.
Indoor skiing is a thing.
Yeah, it is a thing.
That's
dry
slopes.
slopes.
Me. I've missed this.
Dry slope skiing. You know.
Oh right, I thought you meant like indoor.
Yeah, no, I don't just whap out my skis, mate.
I thought you were about that. Yeah, virtual reality skiing, snowboarding.
Is that a thing?
No.
Scene. Yeah. Well, yeah.
I don't think there's a game with a better soundtrack though. I mean, in terms of the last few games I can remember were like. There was this game, and then there was a really early PC game with like David Bowie did the whole soundtrack. I can't remember the bloody name of it.
The only thing that I think is comparable is like Guitar Hero.
Mm.
Because like I don't know, I can't. Someone else will be able to do it, but I can't think of two games other than Tony Hawk's and Guitar Hero where the music is such like a big thing in the game.
I think they did have I think they did have a Green Day song in it. Was it Welcome to Paradise?
Yeah, it's got
Welcome to Paradise.
Yeah, that's one, yeah. it makes sense though, obviously, because as you said, it was very like punky, ska, rock kind of soundtrack, wasn't it? And there's a bit of rap thrown in as well.
Yeah, it was sick.
sick. Yeah.
So
no, it's absolutely amazing, wasn't it?
I mean, the game must have come out when was that? 10? 99? Would have been 10? Something around there. Like 18 years ago, right? So, I mean, for me, that's my everlasting memory of Tony Hawk will probably be the warehouse and basically throwing stuff at my cousin for being too good at the game. All right, that for me is my favorite. I mean, what's your lasting thoughts for you boys?
The music. Introduced me. I had not really got into that genre of music yet. And played Tony Hawk's, and I'm just like, this music's amazing. So I think, although I absolutely adored the gameplay, the thing that I'll always take away from Tony's is introducing me to an entire genre of music that I had yet to listen to.
Yeah, it's the same for me. The music, into rock from quite a young age, but obviously that just kind of pushed it to a couple of new bands and stuff like that. As I said, Blood Brothers by Papa Roach and stuff like that were bands that I didn't know of at the time, because obviously I was only 9 or 10 or whenever the second one came out as well. So, but yeah, also just again, it was just going back to the days when people just all sat around on the same, you know, as I said, on the same like TV and just chilled in your room together and just played. Like you could do your single runs, or you could obviously the multiplayer in the later iterations and stuff as well. And
I definitely think gaming's lost. I don't want to say lost it entirely, but I think it's definitely harder now to have a more social aspect. I mean, people don't sit around on a single TV with controllers right anymore. It's not something that's done. I mean, people come online and I mean, look at this. Who would have thought if you told me in 1999 I'd be sat here on a podcast with OBS recording and I could see all of you, I'd tell you all to fuck off.
Yes, it's true, you know.
Everyone's playing it alone.
One day
together.
people will say it's impossible, you're mad, going into a fucking padded cell. But for me, I think my strongest memory of Tony Hawk's is the blood blisters, or the blisters on my fucking thumb. Literally from doing specials all the time and trying to
had
get
to concentrate hard.
Dude, like the impressions from, because back then I think the analog sticks for PlayStation had just come out, but because we were all still used to having the using the cross, and it was best for getting the more accurate tricks from the diagonals and stuff like that. So you were constantly fucking smashing your thumb in these fucking positions over this cross on the fucking D-pad. And my thumb was just fucked because I was playing like 8 hours a day at least, just drinking coffee and chilling and smoking and just with my mates, you know. And my hands were fucked. I was so thankful for analog sticks coming out for the next iteration for Tony Hawk's that I just wasn't destroying my fucking hands. It was ridiculous.
The biggest.
So that's a fun memory. That's a fun memory. The pain.
For me, the biggest game that did that would have been track and field, but that's a story
for another
day. But
track and fucking field.
So Tony Hawk, I think we can all say thank you very much for the everlasting memories. And just before we go, we have one other very, very small section because I was barely born. I don't even think I was born. No, I wasn't.
No, you weren't. I wasn't.
So the Atari 2600, that's right, Anton?
Yeah, it's the 40th anniversary this month of the 2600.
And what year did it come out?
Well, it's 40 years ago, man. I'm shit at maths. It was 1977, I think.
Wow.
1977.
I don't know. Obviously, I don't know much about this, but I do know, and this was news to you, that they had Super Mario Bros. Actually on it. Not the one we remember.
That fucked me. That actually fucked my head. Now, I knew they had Donkey Kong because I used to play that. My dad had one. Before the Atari 2600, he had one of these grandstand Pong machines. So we had one of those with the little laser gun, which was our version of Duck Hunt. You know, like it just this little blip going up and down. And you had like the laser gun skin. But yeah, we used to play Pac-Man and Donkey Kong, and I completely forgot about Donkey Kong actually being on there until we did some research on it last week. And I realized that version of Donkey Kong had Mario in it. And then when we looked further into it, Nintendo made Super Mario Brothers for the Atari 2600 before they'd even developed their own console.
Yeah, I believe.
So that they were a games developer. I didn't realize that. I knew that they'd done the Duel. You know, remember the old Duel game, the Pocket game before Game Boy came out? They just had the Nintendo Duels, which had Donkey Kong on it. I knew that they developed those like in the late 70s, but I never knew that there were actually a development house for games for other machines.
Yeah, 1983 it actually came out.
That's amazing.
So
that's actually amazing.
I mean, I'll be honest, I won't remember. The games were on cassettes, weren't they, or something of this?
No. So this was the first. This was the first console to have, first gaming machine to have cartridge.
Okay.
So it was a cartridge-based machine, and it was the first of its kind. Later, the Atari 800 came out later. Was a tape-based thing because it was more of a computer, but it could take 2600 cartridges. I had one of those as well, but it was just yeah, it was basically the defining point of the console era, right? Because I know it's before your time, but like the ease of being able to just plug and play and turn on and start playing with your family with 2 controllers or 2 joysticks, and those joysticks are iconic, right? So that started the whole console era. And after that, you know, the Nintendo came out with the NES, and then you know the rest is history, right?
I mean, I've
But
still got the original NES, the NES, with fully boxed, and the Mario Bros with its original packaging.
Well, there you go. But that type of design and the idea of putting something in a cartridge and being able to load quickly, the 2600 defined that. So that's why for me it was important for us to bring this in, because for it to be 40 years old, and whilst not everybody had the opportunity to play on one, I think it lends a hand to everything that became gaming afterwards.
I mean, the point for me about this would be the fact that Mario has survived the test of time, and I can't.
Oh, there's a new one coming out soon as well. Isn't there?
Yeah, I don't think there's many games that you can say that are as iconic as that, right? I mean, maybe if we look at FPS, we can talk about Half-Life and things, but in terms of a game that's lasted over 40 years, and
40 years,
kids of like my kids will probably still play it. Your kids probably know Mario. That's mental.
The new one as well was it looks quite intelligent as well, because it goes between, doesn't it go between the 2D old school where you're jumping across platforms into a 3D sense, which is the new one. So they've actually managed to.
Is that Mario Odyssey or whatever it is?
Yeah, because obviously Stu was telling us about this at LAN and stuff like that, and it's like they've incorporated the old school 2D side scrolling with the new 3D, you know, more of an open world kind of thing. So it's actually really interesting how they're still managing to kind of reinvent the wheel on a game that's essentially it's just like it's always been the same. Yeah,
because the original Mario wasn't. It was just like almost like Pac-Man with like the points where things dropped down from the top and you had to avoid them. It wasn't like an actual level system like when we got with like Super Mario Bros. So
yeah,
a fun fact is you know, you mentioned about the laser duck thing.
Yeah,
I tried to play Duck Hunt on the NES, and it doesn't work. The guns don't work with LED TVs.
No, they don't.
You need the glass tube in the back.
You do, because it so that's because of the cathode tube. So what it did is it actually fired infrared into the glass tube, and then sent a response back to the gun as to the location of where you shot. So it was really quite intelligent, to the location where you shot, to then register with it. So that's amazing. So that's why, yeah. So they actually innovated a way of actually reflecting off the back of the image back into the gun using infrared technology. But so that's why it doesn't work on LEDs, because it just absorbs it. There's nothing to tell it what it's doing. So yeah, I went to my mate's house a few months ago, and I walked in and he had this old fucking, and I'm not talking like Sony widescreen stuff from like 10 years ago. We're talking like it was like a Hitachi wooden cabinet fucking old school TV where you had to press the button to change the channel, you know, like proper old school. And we're playing Duck Hunt on that. Fucking brilliant. I could sit there all day playing that shit. Awesome.
I mean
I'm old, man. This is my bread and butter right here. I've got so many fun memories.
So I didn't have an Atari 2000. I had the I had like the PC Atari. It looked like a PC, like keyboard and monitor.
Yeah, so you had the ST.
Yeah, and I remember playing Conan the Barbarian on that, and like wanting to kill someone. Because all the games fit on floppies, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I couldn't afford an ST. I was my mum was like, no, because back then they were expensive, you know. They were like
I wish we still had it. Like, I would love to.
They were fucking amazing.
Go back and look at some of these games now, because this is I suppose the last thing to touch on in the retro thing to this week is I think games these days rely too much on DLC and things like that. I mean, we're talking about games that are 40 years old that have stood the test of time. I'm sure graphically, yes, they look crap, but if we go back play Conan Barbarian, it would be fun. Mario's, you know, it's fun, And I think the games industry needs to, instead of focusing on release dates and timelines and pressure to actually push content out, they should focus on quality, because otherwise we'll end up, in my opinion, losing the games industry.
So here's something for you that I think ties in with that nicely. Before we get off, is that I've got an Xbox One. I don't really use it. My kids don't fucking really play it. Because most of the games on there require DLC, so we just can't be bothered. They're mainly PC gamers, but my daughter, she loves Rayman Legends, and the reason behind that is because it's still got that core simplicity platformer, but you need to have a little bit of intelligence about you, and you know, if you fail, you try again and keep trying again until you succeed. And she fucking loves it, and she'll be on there for hours playing Rayman Legends, like. Because that's one of those games, again, that goes back, you know, it goes back to the games that we used to love and enjoy, where, you know, it's brilliantly simplistic yet difficult. You know, you could do certain things, but to do it well, you had to put in a bit of effort. And so, you know, if somebody from her era, so she's like, you know, she's 8, is still enjoying games like that, and there's no reason why they shouldn't. There's no reason why they can't make games like that still.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I almost threw my girlfriend's Game Boy out the window this morning trying to complete the Warrior Castle level in 6 gold coins, Mario. God, that's like, honestly, I've never played anything hard. But like, yeah, I mean, have you boys got any lasting thoughts that you want to say? I just want to say, Tony Hawk's, thank you for all the memories. Atari, obviously, thank you for my childhood. And realistically, you know, it just shows that DLC is not needed. Games industry, take more love of your games, and then you might be like Mario Bros in the last 40 years.
Well, final thing from me is I am really, really looking forward to the 28th of September, because that's when my SNES Mini is getting delivered, and I cannot wait to play some classic games with my kids. I can't wait. The SNES version of Mario was brilliant, absolutely fucking brilliant, and I'm absolutely stoked that I'm getting it, and I'm just gonna you're not gonna see me. You know what I mean? I'll have it here. I'll have it here playing whilst we're doing podcasts. I'll just be like this because I fucking love that game.
Yeah, I got my N64 out after our first week talking about GoldenEye, so it's actually over by the TV now, which is next to me. So yeah, that's it for me really. I'm just it's maybe play a couple of the old school games again.
Cool.
I've stayed away from the old school games. I'm leaving my memories as they were. Happy.
Oh, no, I love them. I always go back to Final Fantasy. That's the one I can't stop bloody playing.
I'm scared that I'll go back and it won't be like I remember, and I'll be like,
no, it is, man. It is. It is. It always.
I'm not going to take that chance on top.
Cool.
Stay in.
Well, yeah, that's it
PUBG.
from me.
Yeah, I mean, once again, guys, thank you very much for this. Has been episode 3 out the blue. We touched on PUBG retro, like I say, and yeah, I guess the final sign-off is for me is what I reiterated earlier. Take more love of your games industry, and maybe you'll stick around for 40 years. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Later.
See ya.